There's this really great book that I read, Gottman, the Gottman theory. Gottman is a man that can predict whether relationships will end up to 98% accuracy. And he says, if you see these four horsemen in a relationship, all four, you can guarantee the relationship will end probably within 7 years or 3 years, 5 years or 15 years. So he has these timestamps depending on how he sees these things.
Hello everyone, how are you today? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, all the love in the world. So today we're going to talk about the Gottman theory, and there are four horsemen according to the book. And if you see these signs, if you see these things in your relationship all at once, it means that your relationship is headed to doom. And the theory explained all these things and their antidotes. So we're going to be watching some videos to learn and understand some of these things, and we'll be back to discuss it.
There's this really great book that I read, Gottman, the Gottman theory. So Gottman is a man that can predict whether relationships will end up to 98% accuracy. And he says, if you see these four horsemen in a relationship, all four, you can guarantee the relationship will end probably within 7 years or 3 years, 5 years or 15 years. So he has these timestamps depending on how he sees these things. And so Gottman talks about contempt. If you're contemptuous, which means you put yourself above someone else. If you are defensive, meaning you're not receptive to what that person is saying. If you are critical, you're constantly picking at that person. Or if you stonewall, which is when we shut down, right? And so if you have these four things inside of a relationship.
Wait, girl, you mean all four of them? Or you can't have any of them?
If you have all four, it's a guarantee that you will end your relationship.
But we all got a couple of them. Right?
Yeah, but his point is to work on those things because those things ruin relationships. And he said, no matter what, when my wife and I have horrible arguments, sometimes you passionately feel so differently from the other person and you don't understand why they don't understand what you're saying, that it creates a tension. But we're human and we feel how we feel. He says, no matter what, when we go to sleep at night, our big toes have to touch. And he says sometimes touching toes is really hard.
Yeah, because I want to
I want to kick you out the bed. I want
toe.
to Sparta you out this bed.
4 red flags to look for in your relationship. The Gottmans coined the term the four horsemen to describe behaviors that indicate that the relationship is in trouble. Criticism is when you verbally attack your partner's character or personality. In contempt, someone is taking a position of superiority. They may attack their partner's moral character or sense of self. They may do this with sarcasm, belligerence, or name-calling. Defensiveness is when a person minimizes or denies responsibility for wrongdoing. They may even flip the blame on their partner in a defensive counterattack. Stonewalling is withdrawing to avoid conflict. Moving over to the antidotes, we'll go with stonewalling first. Typically, the person is flooded. They're having a physiological response to whatever is going on, and they need to take a break and self-soothe. Quick note, I always advise my couples that whoever calls the break is responsible for coming back and bringing up whatever topic they needed the break on. The break also shouldn't be more than 24 hours. The antidote to defensiveness is taking responsibility. You don't always have to take responsibility for the entirety of your partner's complaint, but they recommend that you look for something that you can agree with and validate. Contempt can be avoided by developing a culture of appreciation and a safety in the relationship where both people feel free to express needs and wants. Lastly, instead of criticizing, you want to use the gentle startup. I feel blank when this happens, and this is what I want. I feel lonely when we can't connect during the week. I'd like to spend some more time with you.
One of the first things you'll learn if you do Gottman method couples therapy is about the four horsemen, because really no productive conversation can happen when these behaviors are present. At the top is criticism. That's when you make your complaint about your partner and not the problem. An example would be, you don't care about me, you just do your own thing. That's going to prompt a person to become defensive because they're going to scan their memory and say, well, I don't always do my own thing. There are a lot of things that I do, that when I put you first. And so this is going to cause the couple to go back and forth. The antidote would be to use a gentle startup. And so you're going to start off with your feelings. So when you think the thought, my partner only cares about themselves and they just go and do their own thing, how does that make you feel? Left out, abandoned, hurt, right? right? And you start with that feeling. That's what you're going to lead with. I feel hurt when I'm not considered in your plans, or when I perceive that I'm not being considered in your plans. Can we talk about this? That opens up for a conversation for this person to come forward and say, what do you mean by that? Can you tell me more? When this critical person approaches it like you only care about yourself, this person's automatically going to become defensive. And so when it's used with the gentle startup, they can, work on having a curious conversation about it. Defensiveness can take two forms in the defensive counterattack or the defensive innocent victim. So using the same example, you only care about yourself. The defensive person would say, what are you talking about? You're the one that's selfish. You only care about yourself. What about that time you did blah, blah, blah? And so they're going to counterattack by coming up with examples of when you did the thing that you're accusing them of. The innocent victim will sound like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible partner, aren't I? And they'll start playing victim just like it sounds. The antidote is to take responsibility. And so you want to really listen for what your partner is trying to tell you, even if they're being critical. If you can stay in a grounded space and try and listen for what the need is, you can take responsibility. It sounds like you're feeling left out. Tell me more about that. You know what? I have been a little distracted. I want to talk about this. Contempt usually comes from an extended period of time of one person not getting their needs met. They become frustrated and start expressing that need through sarcasm, belligerence, eye rolling, and overall just contemptuous, not nice behavior. The antidote to that is a hard one, because usually if you've gotten to this point, there are a lot of dynamics that are making this situation really unhealthy. But you want to start by describing your own feelings and needs and not your partner. And so, this person is saying, you do this, you only think about yourself. And so to get out of that, you're just going to really work on describing what the experience of being in a relationship with someone who only thinks about themselves is like. Stonewalling is a result of somebody becoming flooded. This is typically a person who does not have a lot of awareness of their body and may dissociate often. And the antidote to that is to do physiological self-soothing. Now, anyone can stonewall and get flooded. This is a physiological thing that happens to our bodies when we are overwhelmed with emotion.
Last thing I'll say is learn the Gottman theory.
What's the Gottman theory?
The Gottman theory is whether a marriage will last to 5 years, 7 years, 15 years, or they won't last at all. And it's through identifying what he calls the 4 horsemen, which is contempt, stonewalling, criticism, defensiveness. And if you have all 4 of those things in your relationship, it is guaranteed to fail. And so do you have contempt? Do you think you're better than your partner? Are you critical? Are you constantly picking at what they do wrong, or are you celebrating what they do right? Are you defensive? You can't hear anything that they do try to say to you for a place to actually grow, because you're so defensive, protecting who you are and how you see yourself. You can't even understand how that person may see you. And lastly is stonewalling, where you shut down. You don't even communicate. Now it's like talking to a wall. If you have those things in a relationship, all 4, you are certain to fail.
So I would say I learned a lot from these videos. The 4 horsemen of the Gottman method: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Criticism: do you think you are better than your partner? How do you criticize your partner? How do you criticize what they do? Do you just come up and just say things to hurt them because of what they did to you, or are you intentional about how you talk about how you feel? Are you emotionally intelligent? Contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. If people are aware of all these things, it helps to build relationships. It helps to make you understand when something is wrong, to identify a lot of things. This was so helpful, and I hope it helped you too. What you learned from what we watched, I would love to hear from you in the comment section. Also, defensiveness, a lot of us are like this actually. Instead of us to listen to understand and listen to respond, we don't even listen at all. We just listen to defend. That can actually hurt our partner's feelings. Making them feel like they were not heard, or making them feel like they don't know what they're saying. I think this aspect of defensiveness is where manipulation and gaslighting comes in if you are not a genuine person. So yeah, let's just ponder on what we've just watched and use it to assess our relationships, you know. Yeah, so I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section. I'd love to know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know where you're watching from, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.